What is good, everybody? AHS Rules back again with another video, and we're here for another retro review, this time around for NXT Takeover Brooklyn 3. I'm just going to be honest with y'all. I'm a little bit upset because I spent the past 25 minutes filming this video, and I use an old camera. I used to use an old camera just to learn that there's an update for it that I can no longer acquire. So I'm not going to say that this old camera is useless, but it kind of is. Leave the memories alone. So I'm using my phone for this review. I do not like using my phone to film videos because there's not a lot of storage on it and the battery runs down quickly. So I'm going to try to get through. And I just also spent the past 25 minutes filming this freaking video. So I'm just having to repeat myself. So we're going to try to get through this review in one piece. We are here for our second NXT Takeover review. Last time around, we reviewed Takeover Dallas. This time around, we're reviewing Takeover Brooklyn 3 SummerSlam weekend from 2017. I don't have a complete deep dive like I did for the Takeover Dallas review because that was WrestleMania weekend. This is SummerSlam weekend. Not as many cool shows happen, and you know what? You know what the world title matches were for that SummerSlam? Jinder Mahal versus Shinsuke Nakamura. And, you know, that is eye-rolling in hindsight. But to be fair, on the other side of things, we had a good Fatal 4-Way match for the Universal title between Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns, Braun Strowman, and Samoa Joe. But we're not here to talk about SummerSlam 2017. We're here to talk about Takeover Brooklyn 3. We start the show off with a live performance by Code Orange, and on the Videotron, it shows highlights of the people that will be competing tonight, which at Takeover Dallas, again, that was a year and some change ago. Only one person competed on that show that will compete here tonight, and spoiler alert, it'll be their last NXT matchup before getting called up. But our opening contest is Johnny Gargano versus Andrade Cien Almas. Gargano main evented the previous Takeover Chicago in a tag team title ladder match, with DIY losing to the Authors of Pain, and after the matchup, Tommaso Ciampa brutally beating Gargano before taking some time off due to injury. His opponent, Andrade Cien Almas, had been in NXT for around a year at this time period and had been developing a bit of a losing streak and losing habit that would quickly and surely change with the debuting Zelina Vega now being his manager. We got a back and forth start, mainly with arm drags and roll-up attempts from Gargano's. Andrade starts to lay in some chops, soon applying a triangle choke while in the ropes. We get a booyah punch exchange, leading to a slingshot spear by Gargano, setting up a dive to the outside as well, and a slingshot DDT, all for a 2 count. Andrade reverses a slingshot spear into a reverse DDT, and then Andrade flips out of a powerbomb, and before doing so, is able to hit a spinning back elbow, and then gets caught with an enziguri by Gargano. We got a Gargano escape in the center of the ring, which Andrade powers out of to hit a powerbomb in the corner and follows it up with a running knees, all for a 2 count. Andrade then is lawn darted into the corner before Gargano can hit a super kick. A DIY shirt is thrown in the ring by Zelina Vega, and he is very traumatized by this. Andrade pushes him into the corner and then hits him with a hammerlock DDT in the center of the ring to pick up the victory. Now, there's one thing I will say about that DIY shirt, and I mentioned Takeover Chicago, and if you're an OG viewer of the channel, thank you. I used to do unboxing videos, and I remember specifically that I did have that DIY shirt. It no longer fits. It was a comfortable shirt, but the exact day that it came in the mail was the exact day of Takeover Chicago. We see the Raw and SmackDown GMs are enjoying the show up above, with the Iconics sitting next to SmackDown GM Daniel Bryan, and Roderick Strong sitting next to Raw GM Kurt Angle, and No Way Jose was up there as well, as they're setting up for a tag team title matchup up next, the Authors of Pain versus Sanity. We do have a guest commentator for this matchup, that is Corey Graves, which the commentary crew around this time period was Mauro Ranallo, Nigel McGuinness, and Percy Watson. Oh yeah! The two sides brawl before the bell even rings, even go to the outside where Eric Young sets up a table. with Alexander Wolf and Akam being the first two legal competitors. And then we get a bit of a trick play. We think that Killian Dane is going to tag in, but Eric Young says no, no, no. And the trick play is that we thought that Killian Dane was going to be in the match, but Eric Young switches up last minute, and it is him. Then we get more brawling between the two sides, ended up in the crowd. Young is flipped into Razor's arm for a slam. Wolf is able to tag in, taking on both opponents, but eventually is caught with a suplex into a powerbomb by the AOP. Wolf fights back with a Frankensteiner. Akam powerbombs Razor, thinking that it was suplex EY off of the top rope, but Nikki Cross was holding EY down. Then we get dives from the Sanity side. Even Nikki Cross gets a dive off, but is caught by Razor, but Dane spears both of them into that table that was set up earlier by EY. We get a belly-to-back suplex, neckbreaker combo by Sanity, and we have new tag team champions. But they're not able to celebrate for that long as the formerly known as Red Dragon attack everybody, setting the foundation of something else that we'll see a little bit later on in the show. Former champions in NXT, former tag team and world champion Neville, Kalisto was a former tag champion, and Shinsuke Nakamura was a former NXT champion, are at ringside to watch this next matchup. Probably my favorite bout of the night, and that is Hideo Itami versus Aleister Black. We have another special guest for this matchup, and that is Jim Ross, who is on commentary for this bout. And Code Orange play the entrance song for Aleister Black, which, is a very, very familiar tune that we might be hearing again very soon. Big boots to start the matchup off, followed by massive kicks from both, with some hitting and some missing, with Itami needing to go to the outside afterwards, and Aleister sitting in the center of the ring. We get more kicks once Itami comes back in the ring. Itami hits a knee while Black is bouncing off of the top rope. Itami lands a series of kicks to Black's back. While he recovers, Itami teases him by sitting in the ring like Aleister does. We get a leg sweep running knee combo by Aleister, a top rope clothesline by Itami, and a Falcon Arrow off of the top rope that only gets a 2 count for Itami. We get a boo-yay exchange with punches and kicks from both sides, but eventually the crowd ends up cheering and are in awe by what is going on. Itami pushes Aleister in the corner and waits for him to get up. We don't know what he's going to go for, but he probably shouldn't have waited as Aleister reverses him and hits the Black Mass to pick up the victory, as we may or may not be seeing more of this Aleister Black character soon. Who knows? We see 3/4 of the WWE NXT 4 Horsewomen. I like to specify because there's the UFC 4 Horsewomen and the WWE 4 Horsewomen, and you guess what? The UFC 4 Horsewomen ended up coming to the WWE. But the NXT 4 Horsewomen of 3/4 of it as well, as Sasha Banks, Bayley, and Becky Lynch are at ringside to watch this women's title matchup that is about to take place. And that matchup is Asuka versus Ember Moon. At TakeOver Dallas, we saw Asuka win the NXT Women's Championship and have a historic women's title reign that may or may not come to a conclusion tonight as she goes against her toughest competitor, that being Ember Moon. After the bell starts, Ember Moon hits a drop kick, then does a swanton to the outside. Continuing on the outside, Asuka hits a suplex. Asuka then targets the arm of Ember while in the ring, which happened in their previous matchup as well. Ember powers out of an armbar attempt into a suplex. Ember applies her own Asuka lock, with Asuka applying her own afterwards. Asuka hits a pop-up knee and follows it up with a series of kicks. Ember catches Asuka in the top rope and then follows it up with a double stomp, setting up the Eclipse, but it only gets a 2 count, which I am going to blank. And what the hell is this move called now? It's going to bother me. I watch Athena every fucking week on... What does she call this move now? She didn't even hit it on the last ROH review. But regardless, the Eclipse. And then she goes to set up another Eclipse, but the referee is in the way and then only has to hit a cross body. Asuka then goes for an armbar tipped with Ember trying to fight out, and it sets up the Asuka lock with Ember having to tap out. A very good and fast-paced match that the crowd was really into. And I'm not going to say it was like a shock finish, but it was like, when the finish happened, I was like, damn, I kind of wanted to see more of it. Because now we have our main event matchup for the NXT title. Bobby Roode versus Drew McIntyre. Former NXT champions Kevin Owens and Samoa Joe watched the matchup in the crowd. Drew had recently returned to the WWE after being let go in 2014 and having a good stretch on the indie scene and in TNA. And Bobby Roode, we technically saw the start of his WWE run at TakeOver Dallas because he was sitting in the crowd, and we saw him prior to the NXT title match. So it's kind of, a bit of a teaser, as you could say, as the title run may or may not come to a conclusion in a matter of moments. Special entrances for both men as the NYPD pipes and drums play and accompany Drew to the ring. And before Bobby Roode's glorious entrance theme plays, we get a bit of a piano prequel, you could say. Drew starts the match off aggressive with Roode having to back away. We get lots of kicks and big boots by him. Roode attempts a crossbody off of the apron, but Drew catches him and slams him onto the apron, but Roode is able to hit a blockbuster off of the apron. Once back in the ring, it is very back and forth. McIntyre hits a Celtic cross backbreaker for a 2 count. McIntyre then tosses Roode off of the top rope. Future shot DDT gets a 2 count. A big powerbomb by Roode gets a 2 count. We get a Claymore by Drew, but Roode is able to position himself to get his foot on the rope. Roode rolls to the outside after this, and Drew follows him up with a dive to the outside. Once back in the ring, he goes for a Claymore, but is reversed into a double R spine buster. Then he follows it up with a glorious DDT, only getting a 2 count. He then tries for another one, and is successful, but is not successful with a third one as McIntyre powers out to hit him with a headbutt and another Claymore kick, and we have a new NXT champion, and that is Drew McIntyre. As this would be Bobby Roode's last match in NXT, and if I did not fact check it, but I'm fairly certain that he would join the main roster that week on SmackDown, going against Aiden English. And this kind of sets a bit of a trend for Drew after winning a championship, not being able to celebrate for that long, as in 2020, when he won the WWE title twice, because he lost to Randy Orton and then beat Randy Orton a couple weeks later, and obviously at WrestleMania that year, there were no crowds there. It was 2020. You know what the hell is going on. You might know. If you don't know what's going on, I guess you're lucky. And then this last year at WrestleMania, he got to celebrate a little bit too much, but it did not last long. It lasted like 5 minutes. And then Damian Priest cashed in on him, and we might get another WrestleMania. It's not a WrestleMania Classic, but maybe they relive it at this year's WrestleMania. Who knows? Now, you're probably wondering, what the hell happened that you're talking about this title change, and what happened? Bobby Roode and Bobby Fish. Wow, I can't believe I just called him that. You understand, Bobby Roode, Bobby Fish. Maybe that's why they needed Bobby Roode out of there, so they could bring Bobby Fish in. But Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly come out, and we see the crowd looking this way and chanting, and they're going, yeah, yeah, yeah. And Adam Cole appears and attacks Drew McIntyre and ends the show off with his new crew and set a bit of a new era for NXT. And we're going to talk about some of that on our next retro review, as we'll be talking about Takeover New Orleans. What many consider the best NXT Takeover, will be the judge of that. So, if this video cuts off here, at least you got the review portion out. I'm going to go on a bit of a side tangent. So, like I said, I'm filming this on my phone. This phone, I will say, is a lot clearer, but the battery doesn't last as long, and the storage is not as much. So, this is why I don't really like filming on my phone. But for the time being, until I get a camera upgrade, I think it will do. That is fine and dandy. But like I said, next time that we're here it's also weird because, like I said, I spent 25 minutes filming the last one, and I was able to shorten it down to 15. A little bit of like side stories, none of real. The most important one I talked about here with the DIY shirt. So there is that. So hopefully I can get this all figured out. You already know what the next retro review is going to be. Takeover New Orleans. That should be next weekend or next week. So I do appreciate y'all for watching this video. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next one, because I'm out for now. Goodbye.